All right, let's talk about something that way too many buyers in Toronto learn the hard way. The wrong condos can absolutely wreck you. And the truth is, a lot of people only look at the interior of the unit. They don't look at the building, they don't look at the management, and they don't look at the financials carefully enough. And then they wonder why their maintenance fees have jumped, or why the building just got hit with a massive special assessment, or why the property value barely moves for 5 years. So today I'm going to walk you through the types of condos you should not buy in Toronto. Because if you avoid these, you will avoid a lot of the disasters that buyers fall into. Now, the first one, and this is a big one, is low reserve fund buildings. So if you've never looked at a condo's financials before, the reserve fund is basically the building's savings account. And some Toronto condos, I'm not kidding, are running on fumes. And so when a reserve fund that's way too low for the age of the building, that is a flashing red flag warning. Because the moment something big breaks or needs repair, like a roof, windows, the garage needs repairs, or pipes need to be replaced, they can either raise the maintenance fees or the second option is charge every owner a special assessment. And how bad can these special assessments be? They will terrify you. So let's take a look. So I'm going to show you some examples of special assessments gone wrong. You've got these people here hit with a $70,000 bill each because their building, which was in North York, had structural issues. So leaks in the parking garage. And I'll say a lot of the biggest assessments, it's always the garage or it's the pipes inside the building. But yeah, they get hit with this quick bill and they're all freaking out. Another one, we've got many BC condo owners facing depleted reserves. And so here it is, they're getting asked to contribute. You've got people here, condo owners in aging building face $14 million in repairs. If they can't pay, they risk losing their homes. And it's crazy, but they can actually give you 15 days notice, which is just insane if you think about it. And this is a 42-year-old building evidently falling apart, which has a bunch of issues going on all through it. Exposed wires, cracked lobby windows with duct tape, just crazy. A main pipe has burst. So they've got pipe issues. That's always one of the big themes. And so that's a huge bill. You've got other people, Ottawa condo residents on the hook for $600,000 bill to repair aging buildings, which is more when there's 40 units in the complex. It's over $10,000 per household. And if you have one of the larger units, $20,000. So this is something that you really got to watch out for when you are looking at these buildings, because you've got to make sure that there isn't a special assessment coming up. So typically what we would do is we would have a special clause that would, one, we'd be able to review the stat certificate, but two, we had have a clause stating that they have no knowledge of an upcoming special assessment. That should be in every offer when you're submitting a condo offer. You should have that in to protect you. Now, you can avoid that by avoiding buildings with weak reserves. Your lawyer's going to be looking into it. But even nice looking buildings can be financially unhealthy. This is why you always, and I mean always, have a stat certificate review when you buy a condo. It allows your lawyer the time to get the building's financial documents and to review them. Then they will let you know their findings, and then they'll give you advice on if it's a good building or one you might want to pass. Now, another one I tell buyers to be very careful about is buildings where the maintenance fees rise every single year. A small increase can be normal. Inflation is real, but in some buildings, if it's like clockwork where it keeps rising a lot per year, if that's the trend, higher fees are going to hurt your resale value, right? And sometimes a building has a lot of legitimately great amenities that cost money. That's fine, as long as the fee matches the lifestyle and you plan to actually take advantage of it, right? But Toronto has way too many buildings that basically turn into a money pit because they weren't built well, or the management company spends like crazy, or the board is patching issues instead of fixing them, which could lead to big problems later on. And then the next biggest trap right now is pre-construction condos. So if you've watched my previous videos, You already know how I feel about this. I would be extremely cautious buying pre-construction in Toronto right now. I would pretty much say don't buy a pre-construction condo. For the last decade, buying pre-construction was marketed like some sort of guaranteed wealth building strategy where you just put down a deposit, you wait a few years, and boom, your money will double. And that world does not exist anymore. In this market, pre-construction is not the dream that people think it is. It's actually become one of the riskiest plays in the entire GTA. So when you buy pre-construction, you're committed to buying at a certain price several years later. And so every single thing in the purchase contract is in the favor of the developer. They don't even need to build the building if they don't want to. They'll just give you the deposit back and you'd have wasted years of your life that could have gone to something else. And things that people don't think about are like, what happens if before that unit closes, you need to move or you lose your job? You've got zero options. And so you have to close on the unit when it gets registered or you lose your deposit and you get sued. So nothing is really like in your favor. The developer even reserves the right to change things about your unit if needed. So a lot of buyers who bought pre-con in 2020, even 2021, right? If they're getting occupancy lately in the past year, they're realizing that their monthly costs are way more than they planned for, right? Some of them can't close at all. Lots of projects held deposits and never got built. And so the assignment market is kind of dead. And the developers, right? The developers will undercut the prices they set for the project if needed, essentially wiping out equity before the shovel even gets into the ground. So when you've got multi-phase projects, that is very risky because if they can't sell out the second phase, they'll just lower the prices. But you can literally walk into a resale condo right now, know exactly what you're getting, know your payments, see the building's financial health. You can get more square footage. You can move in within 30 days if you want to get in quick. It's just a much smarter play, and you're able to start paying down your mortgage immediately. So I'm not anti pre-construction forever. I think there are moments when it makes sense, but right now in this market and this level of uncertainty, you have to be very, very careful. Another condo problem you want to watch out for is buildings with lawsuits. So it could be a contractor suing them, a person that lived there, a past resident. Now, buildings have insurance to cover a certain amount of loss if they lose the lawsuit. But if that amount goes above the insurance figure that they have to pay, all of the building's residents are stuck paying their share of that based on the unit size. So you want to make sure that the building doesn't necessarily have a lawsuit against it. That would be an important one. Now, this next one, and this is a trend that is kind of impacting the condo market a lot right now, and it's micro unit investor heavy buildings. So micro units that have 350 square foot, under 400 square feet. So when the market softens right now, guess what happens? Investors ditch them. Tenants, they're not there. And so units turn over constantly, and suddenly there's a lot of units like these that are there. And it's a big problem in Toronto. So you might be like, Carl, what's a micro unit look like? Well, I'm going to show you what micro units look like. So this is one on Western Battery Road. And you see this is literally 1 foot inside the unit. Your door's right there, your window's there, and you already have to have your TV, your kitchen's there. You're going to notice a common theme of these places is that they don't actually have anywhere to put dishes. So you've got to also have them to the side, as you can see there. They only have enough for utensils and then a few things. And so everything has kind of got to get thrown in there. So you even have their coffee maker is actually on top of the oven. And then you've got your laundry. And so this is you've got as much square footage outside in your little area as you do inside. These are micro units. Another one here. This one's really tiny on Blue Jays Way. So that is the widest photo they could make of this unit because that is it. Right? You can imagine how small this unit is. These are all the pictures that they have. And so, you know, you don't really, you've got to put your bedroom here. You've got to have a place where you can eat, where your TV's going to go somewhere. Maybe you need a desk. And, the concern here is like, where are you going to put your clothes? So is one of these closets here, like one of them's obviously the fridge, but where are you going to put your stuff? And then you've got a very limited area. So person, how are you going to cook? And so this would be a micro unit. And this is one of the big issues right now where you just, these units, they don't, no one wants to live there long term. You actually can't really live there long term. And so this is what a micro unit looks like. So demand is low for these because obviously they're not seen as long-term solutions to housing. They were great for rental cash flow in a hot market, but they're horrible for resale during a correction, right? Which is what right now in Toronto is not in a good hot market. And so these units are taking a beating. The next one that comes to mind is Airbnb allowed buildings, which is kind of a controversial topic, right? So some buildings are strictly residential, no short-term rentals allowed, and some allow for a fee. They're basically like mini hotels. But if you're buying to live in it, the last thing you want to do is buying a building that feels like it's a revolving door of like suitcases and partiers. It means more fire alarms, garbage in elevators. As people don't live there, they're not going to treat the place as nice as you would. So if you're buying a condo as an investment, you need to know the rules, but you also need to know that they're changing in Toronto often. Right? Toronto isn't necessarily a Airbnb friendly market. Now, if you're a homeowner looking to buy a condo, I do recommend buyers to avoid these Airbnb buildings for these reasons. Some might be okay with it, but there are a lot of ones where you hear nightmares about it, right? Like I used to live by ICE condos, and it was constant police presence there, and firefighters there, alarms going off, and a terrible living experience. So here's the truth. Toronto has some incredible condos, but it also has nightmares that you can get yourself into. And the sad part is most buyers, they don't know which is which until it's too late. The listing agent, in the listing is never going to tell you the full story. So the MLS also doesn't warn you about buildings. So you need to work with people that know what they're doing. So if you're thinking about buying a condo in Toronto and you want a second opinion on your plan, hit the link in the description. Until next time, thanks for watching.